In Washington state, raising the minimum wage to double the federal standard is on the ballot in one town and is the key issue in the Seattle mayor's race. Voters in Seatac, Washington, which is home to Seattle-Tacoma Airport, are being asked to raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour, which would help thousands of workers at one of the nation's busiest airports. But, of course, business and labor leaders say there are economic and political implications, and local democracy going where state and federal legislators mostly fear to tread could be equally profound. On the phone with us is Peter Hall. He is a professor of urban studies at Simon Frasier University to talk to us about this. Dr. Hall, thank you so much for being with us on Arise America. Do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks very much for having me, Debbie.
This is something that I know a lot of other towns are looking at very closely. Go through the pros and cons of raising the minimum wage so dramatically.
On the con side, there of course are concerns that there could be businesses could be affected and passengers could stop using the airport. I think that with the exception of a couple of specific activities where there might be a little bit of change in people's spending behavior, those fears tend to be overblown. The reason why I say that is that people don't go to an airport just to be in the airport. They go to the airport because they want to go somewhere, because they want to engage in some business or leisure kind of activity. And so, for the most part, that kind of behavior is very insensitive to price at a low level. And there's every reason to think that this wage increase, even though it is a substantial wage increase for the people involved, it's not going to translate into very much higher prices. Where it might change behavior is the ordinance that's on the ballot does cover car rental. It does cover off-site parking, and there's a perfectly good light rail to Seattle to Seatac Airport. So I would expect there'd be more people taking the train, but not a huge decrease in the number of people traveling through Seatac. And so that's on the con side. On the pro side, this is a substantial increase for the people who benefit from that increase. It would bring them from a wage that would be, in the best scenario, about $20,000 a year to up to $30,000 a year. That can be a substantial improvement in family circumstances.
I would imagine, beside the concern of how much business the airport would do, talk to me a little bit about how this increase might affect the workforce there. Wouldn't it attract higher wages? Wouldn't the higher wages rather attract better qualified applicants? Might squeeze out the very people that could benefit from this increase?
Sure. We had the opportunity to study a similar ordinance at San Francisco International Airport that was implemented in 2000. And there was some evidence that in some occupations there were slightly more men hired than before. You would expect also over time perhaps some increase in the education level, and certainly that if you think about the way airport screening was done before the TSA. Airport screening before the TSA was often a high turnover, often immigrant job, and now there are sort of minimum requirements in terms of education and English language ability and so on. And so I think it would be wrong to say that over time there'd be no impact. Yes, there probably would be, because you're paying people more, you can attract more qualified staff, but I mean, in some sense, isn't that what you want? Don't you want more qualified, more committed people working at the airport?
Yeah, and oh, by the way, both mayoral candidates in nearby Seattle are considering minimum wage increases as well. So I'm sure they're watching this with great interest. We'll have to leave the conversation right there. Peter Hall, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take care. And you're watching Arise America.